Welcome back to the Learning Designer. To begin your first design, click the Sign Up Today button. Fill in your details and set a password. Note that the software will only accept passwords with lowercase English letters or numbers only. Passwords must start with a letter, must contain at least one number, and must be at least 8 characters long. You will then receive an email to the address that you signed up with. Find this email, which may be in your junk or spam folder, and click the link in it to verify your account. You will then be redirected to the sign-in page to log in. After logging in, you will see 3 tabs: Start, Browser, and Designer. To begin your design, make sure you are in the Designer field. This will create a blank design for you to work from. You can now enter some details about your design. Begin by giving your design a name and topic in the relevant fields. You now need to indicate the time your learners will have to complete the learning. Leave the designed learning time field blank, as the software will automatically fill this in as you complete your design. When you've finished your design, you can check back here to ensure that the learning you've designed does not exceed the actual time you have available for it. You can also indicate the class or group size. We can indicate the gender split in the group here. This group has 13 male students and 13 female students, so let's indicate that. We can then include a description for this design. Beside the mode of delivery field, we can choose an option from the drop-down menu. Choose wholly online for learning that is completely digital, blended for learning that mixes digital learning with face-to-face learning, classroom-based for face-to-face learning, and location-based for learning that takes place on a location, for example, a work experience placement or field trip. This piece of learning is blended, with some learning taking place online and some in the classroom, so I've selected that option. Now let's write the aims for this piece of learning. What are we, as the facilitators of learning, hoping to convey to the learners? We can click on this cross symbol to help us write the learning outcomes. This gives us a menu of verbs from Bloom's taxonomy, which we can use to help pick an appropriate verb for our first outcome. If you are using another taxonomy, such as the TSL Soft Skills Matrix, you can select the uncategorized label. For the first outcome, I want to add an outcome that comes under knowledge, and I think find out, discover is the most appropriate verb. So let's pick that one, and then fill out the rest of the outcome. Learning outcomes should feature an appropriate verb, in this case find out, discover, the content to be addressed, in this case stereotypes, and the context, in this case about the region and the country chosen. Remember to click the Save button regularly so you don't lose any of your work. Now we can scroll down the page to add our first Teaching and Learning Activity, or TLA. You can see that the first TLA is already there and blank for us to fill in. Let's give this an appropriate name, describing what learners will do in this TLA. Now let's add our first activity. Let's start by entering a description of this activity. We now need to decide on what type of learning this is. The drop-down menu provides a choice of the 6 types of learning. This activity is a read, watch, listen activity, so I've chosen that option. Let's also enter a time needed to complete this activity, say 20 minutes. We will also need to indicate how many students are involved. As this activity can be completed individually, let's put 1 here. For a small group activity, we might put 4 or 5 here to indicate that 4 or 5 students will be involved in each group. Or for an activity that involves the whole class, we would put the total number of students in the class. In this case, that's 26. We can then indicate whether this is an activity the teacher needs to be present for. In this case, the teacher does not need to be present. We can also indicate if this activity will be conducted online or face-to-face. This activity will be online, so let's tick that. We can also specify if the activity will be synchronous, meaning carried out by learners simultaneously in the same place. As this is an individual activity that students will complete asynchronously at home, we can leave this unticked. We can link to resources for the activity. These can be URLs, files, or we can add a note. We can now add more activities to this TLA and more TLAs to the design. Now we've finished adding our activities, let's check the learning time needed. We can see here that our estimated learning time is the same as our designed learning time, but if it wasn't, we may have to revisit our design and remove or shorten some activities. We can also check the pie chart, which displays the different types of learning included in the design. This can be useful for alerting us if there is too much of one type of learning. Remember, variety is key for creating engaging designs. Now that our design is finished, we can export it. To securely back up your design on your computer, select Export and then LGJ format. This will create a backup file on your computer, which you can import to Learning Designer if you ever lose the online version. You can also export your design as a Word document. But for now, let's click Share to create a shortened URL to show the design to other people.